Hey guys, welcome to Was I in a Cult Part 3. So I had no idea how long this story was going to be, and I don't know how many parts it's going to be, but I'm just going to leave off where I ended at the last episode, right after she led me in the sinner's prayer and brought me to Jesus, or led me to the Lord, as everyone calls it. So right after that, I remember that I think I finally turned around. I was trying to compose myself. I was crying. I was in tears. I didn't know what just happened. I didn't know what I had just committed to. I didn't understand the fullness of it. I was literally like bombarded with this information and told I needed, basically given, like just like in sales, basically in sales, you're taught to rush someone into the process because and you know, like giving that sense of urgency. You know, everybody talks about a sense of urgency in sales. Well, in leading people to the Lord, there's like you create this sense of urgency that you need to do this right now type of thing. And you know, or like your soul is in danger if you don't do this right now. And that's kind of how they sell their pitch, if you would say. Like it's kind of like, it's literally a sales pitch. Leading someone to the Lord is a sales pitch to get someone to buy into their religion. And they don't tell you everything that's involved. They don't tell you, they don't explain the product and the features or anything about the organization that you're involving yourself in at first. You know, they don't tell you what their expectations of you will be once you say that sinner's prayer. And, you know, again, I've read the Bible and I've studied the Bible very specifically. However, at that time, I didn't have enough understanding of what I was doing in order to make an educated decision, if that makes any sense. Not just an educated decision, but a decision of, okay, so I already knew in my heart that I believed personally for myself. I believed that, you know, there is a God, and I believed that I believed in Jesus, and I believed that he died on the cross for me and rose on the third day, and that the Bible simply said that if you believe and confess with your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord, and all that, that you will be saved, right? So I already believed those things. So technically, I had done that when I was 7 years old. I had already given my life over to the Lord when I was 7. So technically, I was already saved, if that's what they want to call it. But what this church does is they kind of make you believe that you're saved only if you literally basically do whatever they want you to do, whatever they feel is right for you to do. And as long as you come to their church, and if you by any chance think that, you know, you should go to another church, no, God brought you here to this church for a reason. So this is where you belong, basically. So it's like, I had one other prior experience at another church through a friend that took me to church. She was from my PE class in I was gonna say college, but in high school. And when she took me to her church, I remember it was a Spanish-speaking church, so I didn't understand it. But they did have an English class for teens. So all the youth and the teenagers and everybody would go to the youth ministry while all the adults were in the main service. So I was like, well, technically, if the first church that God brought me to is the church that I'm supposed to be in, then technically that church that they're telling me that I need to come to is not the church. I need to go to the original church, the very first church that I went to, because that's where God brought me first. So see, like in other words, my point here is that they try to make me believe that God brought me here to this church right now, and this is where I need to be, and this is where I need to plant myself. And they talk about getting plugged in and getting into a small group right away. They just want you to join a small group right away. And at the time, I was 16 years old, and really my grandparents were still in charge of my life. I mean, I had ran away from home, which they thought, oh, perfect, she's a runaway, we can get her to do whatever we want, right? But they couldn't really, you know what I mean? So it's like, I mean, I could get where I can get what I could get there. Like, I mean, I was literally afoot. I had no vehicle or transportation. But what I would do, I remember, is I would go over to my friend's house that I met, and we would go with her uncle. He would take us all to church. And I think that happened a couple of times while I ran away, but then I ended up going back home. And when I went back home and talked about going to church, my grandparents really weren't having it. They didn't want me to go. They said if I was going to go to church, it needed to be a Catholic church, not a Christian church. That was basically what they told me. So, like, let me rewind just a little bit here to, there was something else I need to talk about. Give me 1 second. Okay, back to the scenario of after she prayed for me and everything like that, because I didn't really go into that. I went into some other stuff. So, basically, right after she said the sinner's prayer, I remember I was trying to compose myself. I was wiping the tears off my face, looking for a tissue. And I turned around and I saw my friend Lena coming over there. She was kind of walking up, and I was like, oh my gosh, there you are. And I was like embarrassed because like I literally was like in tears and falling apart emotionally. And I think like at that very moment it was time to sit down and watch this movie that they were going to watch. And I was looking at Lena and I was like, what is this? What are we doing here? Like, this lady has me crying over here in the corner. What is happening? And so I was like, is this what you were planning, where you were planning to meet me? Like, she was like, oh yeah, we're just gonna watch this movie. And she had another friend with her, which was the niece of the youth pastor from the church, right? So I guess somehow my friend Lena knew this girl Margaret, and they were a part of how do I say, they weren't, I guess they weren't really going to the church. Margaret was going to the church because her uncle was the youth pastor and she was living there with him, right? For whatever reason. I don't remember why. But also, I guess Lena knew her, and then she invited, I guess she would go to her house to see her, and her uncle would be like, let's go to church, or there's this event. And then I think she invited me, not really telling me what it was. And it was kind of just deceiving altogether. Like, now that I think about it, like, I didn't think about it at the time. But it's like, don't deceive people into attending church. And so it wasn't even church. Like I said, it was a movie. And it was a movie depicting, like, a party life, basically. And the results and consequences of living that type of life. So that's what I got sucked into. And we watched the movie, and I'm out of time, so I'll have to tell you about the rest later. Alright, have a great one. Bye.